Cow's milk is for baby cows. Who would have thought that? So, cows spend their life in farms. I like to call them prisons because they're surrounded with barbed wire fences. Each animal has a number and not a name. Sound familiar? They spend their entire life in these facilities and are killed, usually, when they don't produce milk. So, is drinking milk good for you? Doesn't the USDA approve drinking milk? What do the cows have to go through for us to drink this milk? After all, it tastes good, right? Is it healthy for you? Well, today we're going to look at two main reasons why you shouldn't drink dairy. And let's look at the USDA food pyramid. We can definitely trust this, right?
Not necessarily. Sure, dairy is nature's perfect food, but only if you're a calf. If that sounds shocking to you, it's because very few people are willing to tell the truth about dairy. In fact, criticizing milk in America is like taking on motherhood, apple pie, or baseball. But that's just what I'm about to do. Based on the research and my experience in practicing medicine, I typically advise most of my patients to avoid dairy products completely. I like ice cream just as much as the next person, but as a scientist, I have to look honestly at...
Wow, that's just one doctor's opinion. So cows that spend their entire life forcibly impregnated, and the food pyramid was made by the dairy industry? That's a conflict of interest. Wow, I mean, is milk really healthy for us if it's meant to be for calves? Do you think about this when you're pouring milk on your coffee? You know what, let's ask some more doctors and see what they have to say about this.
Welcome to the exam room. I'm Dr. Neil Barnard. Today we're going to talk about dairy products. It's the one thing that mom said you got to have it, but it's also the one thing that a lot of people are saying the first thing they want to get out of their diets, and we're hearing that from nutrition scientists, and we're hearing that from a lot of doctors. Here to address this are registered dietitian Maggie Neola, Susan Levin, and Jim Loomis. Susan, let me start with you. What should I be worried about if we're thinking about health risks of dairy products?
Well, one thing that jumps out to my mind is the fact that milk, dairy products, are the #1 source of saturated fat in the American diet. So look at all the chronic diseases from which we suffer, like obesity and cardiovascular disease. For sure, dairy must play a part in that.
So a lot of saturated fat means?
Increased risk for heart disease, and a lot more calories, which can lead to being overweight or obese, which again increases your risk for things like diabetes and cancer. But I think a lot of people associate or think dairy milk is synonymous with bone health, and there's really no research to back that up. In fact, the huge study looked at over 70,000 women for 18 years, found that there was no protective effect for consuming more milk for fracture risk. So the evidence isn't there to support it for bone health.
Jim, what's your take on this?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I have patients who come to me and say, well, I don't drink fatty milk, I drink skim milk. Well, the problem with that is that milk still has a lot of sugar in the form of lactose, which can contribute to type 2 diabetes. We also know that milk protein can trigger IGF-1 formation, which has been known to trigger cancer and may play a role in increased risk for things like prostate cancer and breast cancer that we see.
Absolutely. There was a huge review of 32 studies that showed the more total milk, but even low-fat milk, whole-fat milk, cheese, the more of these products that men consume, the higher their risk for prostate cancer. So we know there's definitely a connection.
You know, I got to say, that wouldn't really matter too much if your risk increases 10%, 20%, something like that. If it's a really rare cancer, because that kind of percentage doesn't matter so much. But prostate cancer is so common that something that makes it 10%, 20%, 30% more common is a huge effect. Maggie, okay, so I'm coming in to see you, and I've decided I want to be healthy and I want to get away from dairy. Help me out. What can I have instead?
Well, I'd definitely like to see those cancer rates drop. So
Sure.
I would totally recommend going on a grocery store tour and seeing all these different non-dairy options available on the market for milk, cheese, and yogurt. There's so many of them. It's exciting.
What are they like?
Well, a lot of them are made from nuts, seeds, grains, you name it. The latest thing I think I've seen is walnut milk. So
Okay.
we can go from there.
Favorite milk substitute?
My favorite milk, especially in coffee, is actually hemp milk or soy milk. They
Hemp
work really
milk.
well.
Susan?
I'm an almond milk gal,
Yeah,
Jim?
I'm with her. I'm with Susan. Almond milk.
unsweetened.
Yeah, unsweetened almond milk.
You know, a generation ago, if you got soy milk, it was a powder. You had to mix it up and pour it on your cereal before it precipitated. Those days are over. It's now become real easy to get away from dairy-free. Final thoughts? What did we leave out?
Well, I think, I think what people don't understand is that we as human beings really aren't designed to use milk other than our mother's milk when we're young. Milk is a biologic fluid whose job is to turn a baby mammal into a big mammal. And when you're big enough to go out and find food on your own, you don't need to drink milk anymore. In fact, the gene for that turns off historically in humans at around age 4 or 5. And it's only a small percent of the population because of a genetic mutation that's even able to digest milk. And when we look in a mirror, we don't see baby cows, right? So the idea that we should even use milk from a biologic standpoint just doesn't make sense.
Well, there you have it. When you pour a glass of milk, what you're pouring is the #1 source of saturated fat, and if you skim off that fat, it's full of sugar, linked to prostate cancer and lots of other health problems. It's starting to make those milk substitutes sound really pretty good. Thanks a lot for being with us.
Alright, so there's all the health reasons why you shouldn't drink the milk that belongs to dairy calves. Look at these cows. These big giant bells around the neck so they could be heard, so the farmer doesn't lose his pride of joy. It's shocking. You know what really happens in the dairy industry? Let's ask some animal activists down at Animal Liberation. So we've looked at the health benefits of not drinking dairy. Let's look at the ethical reasons why you shouldn't drink dairy. Did you know cows naturally produce milk? That's not true at all. Cows have to be pregnant and have a baby every year. They are forcibly impregnated, and if the baby is male, the male babies are worthless in the dairy industry and quickly separated from mum. It's shocking. The males are sometimes killed just a few hours old as they're worthless to the dairy industry. The mother's milk then is taken from the mother constantly every day. And once mum stops producing milk or stops having children, she's also killed. When we go into the store and we pay for milk or dairy products like yogurt or cheese, this is what you're directly paying for. These farms are the pasture-raised, grass-fed, organic, and unfortunately all these animals enter the same door at the slaughterhouse. This mother's pining for her child. She wants her daughter back or son back. The females are kept separated from mum, while the boys are transported to the slaughterhouse, tossed away like trash. Can you imagine being a child and you're in prison? You don't even know why you're here. All you want is your mother. So think the next time you go to the grocery store to put milk in your coffee or on your cereals, why not choose a plant-based alternative and stop contributing towards the suffering of animals, separating child from mother. The dairy industry is the #1 reason for health reasons. There's plenty alternatives. Choose a plant-based milk. Go vegan. So we looked at the health reasons. It's bad for you, and also the animals suffer intensively. Babies taken away from mothers, mothers killed, male calves killed sometimes just a few hours old for the cost of milk. Switching to a plant-based diet by drinking plant-based milks is #1 healthy for you, And if you're against animal abuse and animal cruelty, you're aligning your morals with your actions. By choosing the plant-based milk, you're saying, I no longer want to support this kind of suffering. So let's start keeping families together. These calves want to stay with their mothers. They want to enjoy life just like you and me. Did you know cows have the same emotions you and me have? Yep, they get hungry, thirsty. They're very social animals and like to stay with their family. You know, cows only have one layer of teeth. Beautiful angels. If you're an animal activist or you want to know more about cows, go and visit your local farm sanctuary and spend some time with these beautiful animals. You'll be amazed. Well, thank you for watching. Oh yeah, this is a mother defending her baby.